talk break.
Sir David, well, I'm very pleased to start by saying that irrespective of what might or might not be in this particular bill, I would, of course, not want us to leave the European Union. I must say that there have been some rational speeches from the Conservative benches opposite, in particular those from the Right Honourable Member for Rushcliffe and Beaconsfield. And I have also seen quite a significant level of rational nodding of heads during their speeches from the government benches as well. And what I hope is that what we will see as this debate develops, many more of those rational Conservatives actually being willing to speak out, because, of course, I think that they, as I do, believe not just before the EU referendum that leaving the European Union was going to cause a significant damage, but they continue to believe that to this day. And as they see the Brexit negotiations proceeding, I suspect their view has been reinforced. So I hope that we will see many more outspoken speeches from Conservatives opposite. The debate has inevitably been peppered with from the government benches, the fourth row that has been referred to frequently, with the usual cliches from the usual suspects about the impact of the European Union. So the European bureaucrats plundering our fish, the secrecy that applies. Now, the Right Honourable Member for Stone is no longer in his place, but I don't know whether he has ever participated in a Cabinet Committee meeting. If he's worried about secrecy, he could perhaps go and participate in some of those and see how clear that decision-making process is. And, of course, there's been many references to the importance of sovereignty in this Parliament, which of course is important, and drawing unfavourable comparisons with the European Union, but also completely disregarding the way that that body conducts itself through the Council of Ministers and the role of members of the European Parliament. I think the only thing that has been missing from the debate today has been a reference to the European Union requiring, or in fact stopping children blowing up balloons, and no doubt if the Foreign Secretary had been here, he would have been able to add to that list of cliches about the impact of the European Union, and it is indeed a shame he's not here to add to that, to reheat that particular canard. Now, I am going to make no apologies for seeking to amend this bill and supporting a large number of amendments proposed by others from both sides, although I don't have much confidence that this bill is one that can in fact be knocked into shape. I think what I will do, I will give way at a later stage, particularly from people who have not perhaps had an opportunity to intervene. So I do want to make a bit more progress. Now, I don't know whether the Right Honourable Gentleman from Birkenhead, who is no longer in his place, he's over there, whether his new clause was in fact a politically inspired amendment, but it's very clear that the Prime Minister's, and there's been many references to it over the last 72 hours, was very much a political initiative. I will give way once.
As I think you should, given what you were imputing. It was politically inspired, of course, because I wanted to see a date in the bill. If one was suggesting that somebody else was actually directing what I should table, you might have a word with the whips here, see how easy a job that is.
Well, I thank him for that intervention, although I'm a little bit perplexed because I wasn't suggesting that anyone had been pulling his strings. I was just wondering whether it was his own political inspiration that led him to put this forward. But I think what he has done, and I think the government amendment has done the same, is point out that I'm afraid that these amendments are both damaging and irresponsible, and indeed pointless, as we have heard, in that the government could, of their own volition, choose to change this end date. And one must wonder whether, if in fact we were very close to a deal, just a matter of days or hours away, whether in fact the government would then wouldn't seek to do that. I'm happy. I'll give way to the Honourable Lady.
Grateful to the honourable gentleman. Thank you. Does he accept, though, that we are actually coming out of the EU, and this is not a game of okey-cokey with 1 foot in and 1 foot out?
Well, I don't think we often play games of okey-cokey in this chamber, and I certainly wouldn't want us to do that today. In fact, what we are debating is something that, without a doubt, is the most serious issue the United Kingdom has faced in the last 50 years, and one which I'm afraid the government are not conducting terribly efficiently. And we have seen from the Prime Minister's amendment that what she secured from that was perhaps 1 or 2 newspaper headlines. What it did not succeed in doing, I'm very pleased to see, is stemming the Tory resistance. And I do perhaps encourage the use of the word resistance. I don't know whether many members have read Matthew Parris's article, where he has suggested that we should use resistance as the way of describing us in the way that perhaps that some of the people opposite would prefer to describe us as Ramonas or indeed traitors. On that point, I'm very happy to give way.
Call the honourable member a Ramona, but he is a Democrat, a Liberal Democrat, and I'm just wondering what bit of the Democrat it is. That he doesn't accept the result of the referendum. He doesn't accept that 52% of the country voted to leave. He doesn't accept that the Prime Minister made it absolutely clear that we would leave if that's what the people voted for. And I'll just remind him, 41% of his constituents voted for him. 52% voted to leave the European Union. When's he going to ask for a rerun in his own seat?
I'm sure that what I'm about to say to him will reassure him that, in fact, I am a Democrat, because he will be very aware that what the Liberal Democrats are saying is that the only way that the vote on the 23rd of June last year could be undone is by means of a referendum of everyone in the country who might have changed their minds. Now, I'd like perhaps him to explain why it is that on this particular one issue that the people have the right to express their will, but only once and never again. That is not what we are arguing democratically. We are arguing that, in fact, there should be another opportunity. I'm not going to give way because there are other members who want to speak. I'm going to give way to my honourable friend.
Will my honourable friend agree that there is a fundamental lack of understanding about democracy? Democracy is not a thing fixed in stone. A decision that has been made once is not a decision that is there forever and a day. And indeed, our parliamentary democracy is based on every 4 or 5 years people can change their vote and vote for something else. And indeed, a referendum should not be seen as something that has forever been fixed in stone.
Indeed, of course, there are. Indeed, the Right Honourable Member for Stone is someone who, in fact, thinks our democracy is very much set in stone on this issue. And it's interesting that when there was an intervention on the Honourable Member for Harwich and North Essex, when he was asked the question if 12 months from now, 90% of the population felt that this was, in fact, a mistake that had been made on the 23rd of June. It seemed to me as though he was saying we're still going to proceed with this regardless, completely overlooking the change in public opinion. Now, in relation to new clause 49, clearly we will be opposing it. I did learn one thing during that debate. I'll give way in a second, and that is apparently the honourable member for Birkenhead is not an ardent Brexiteer. Well, I am surprised to learn that, but I welcome that for him it was indeed evenly balanced. Although I was a bit worried that he at one point said that we didn't need more facts. So I think actually it's quite important to have facts and not necessarily to always act on one's gut feel. I said I'd give way to the honourable member for Harwich and North Essex.
I think he completely misrepresented what I said. What I said was hypothetical. Does he really believe the British people are going to change their minds about this? It may be a pious hope, but if anything, if there was another referendum, Leave would win by a far bigger majority next time.
Indeed, he has answered a hypothetical with a hypothetical, so I think we probably better leave it there. So no, I will not be supporting the new clause 49 as the member for Birkenhead has articulated. I think the difficulty with his amendment and the government amendment is that actually we are making our negotiating position much worse by having a fixed deadline and not leaving the scope to allow Article 50 to be extended if the negotiations were close to conclusion but weren't there, I think is constraining us unnecessarily. In relation to the government's position, I think they have been fairly comprehensively, their amendments been demolished by others during this debate, and my concern on the intervention that was made is that the government seem to still be arguing that no deal is something that they will happily pursue, or they're considering as an option, notwithstanding the huge level of concern expressed by all sectors, certainly all businesses that I have met, about the impact of no deal. And I would recommend to members present, if they haven't already been, to go to the port of Dover and watch the process of trucks arriving at the port, getting on a ferry, the ferry leaving, and then the ferry coming in the other direction, trucks getting off and then leaving the port. That is a seamless process that does not stop. The lorries barely slow down as they approach Dover, get onto the ferry and leave. Now, anything that gets in the way of that process, even if it's an extra minute's processing time, will lock that port down. And I think members who think that no deal is a happy, easy option need to go and talk to them and see what the impact would be. Amendment 79 from Plaid, very happy to be supporting that, because that is about ensuring that the devolved assemblies have some say in this. Certainly so far that is something that has been very significantly denied. And if indeed we have a vote on Clause 1 stand part, certainly I will be ensuring that. I'm very happy to give way.
I'm very grateful to the honourable member for giving way. Like him, I am sceptical about Clause 1 standing part of this bill, because it is asking Parliament to agree to sweep away the whole body of the 1972 European Communities Act without knowing what on earth will replace it. It's asking us to embark on that journey without knowing the destination. I think conditions should be placed on the repeal of the 1972 Act. For instance, we should have a treaty with the European Union before that repeal is allowed to take place.
Well, I thank him very much for that intervention, and I think there may be an opportunity to put this to the test shortly. And with that, Sir David, I conclude my remarks, but just to say that I think, unfortunately, again, this debate has revealed some of the, I think, the obsession that Europe holds in the hearts of some of those opposite who, I think, I'm afraid, when it comes to Europe and our membership of the European Union, have left their rationality at the door of this chamber and are leading the country down a path which I think, if we proceed and we exit the European Union, will, in my view, in the view of many cabinet members who are sitting there on the front bench, many Conservative members of Parliament, and indeed many members on this side, will do us long-lasting damage as a country.